Assalamu alaikum. I'm Akhter, and on behalf of my content and editorial team, I would like to welcome you to another session presented by CXO Masters Academy in partnership with Comtel. CXO Masters Academy hosts regular roundtables and executive sessions with exclusively for senior executives to share, discuss, and benchmark strategies with peers in a private setting. Today, we have brought another such session together, which is called our CXO Watch Tower Firesides, which are 1 or 2 or 3 people classrooms with senior functionaries associated with our various media brands. So today, the session that we're hosting is for CIO. And as we can rightly see in frame today, our first magazine publication that came out was Shakeel Saab's very own cover, which you can see on his screen. So it brings us immense pride because it feels like, after 14 years of our work, it's sort of come full circle and we have him again on our platform. And with this, I'd like to quickly introduce our guests for today. We have Mr. Shakeel Akhter, who is back then and now the Chief Information Officer at the Indus Hospital. And we have with us Mr. Faisal Shaikh, who is the Chief Information Officer at Pakistan Cable. So welcome, gentlemen. Thank you for taking out the time. I'd like you to quickly introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about the digital transformation journey of your organizations. So Shakeel Saab, if we can start with you.
All right. Thank you very much, Akhter. And you said that I was the first one who actually was in CIO magazine. That was, in fact, very, very surprising news for me as well. Because when this started, we had no idea when the people came in and they had our pictures and all that, and interview. And it was really, really, really surprising when I went to Sheraton and this whole thing's come up. So even for me and my family and my team, we all were very shocked. Alhamdulillah, Allah Ta'ala ne izzat diye. That was really amazing, being first on CIO magazine. Thank you very much, and thank you very much for your invitation for this particular session. As far as the digitization is concerned at Indus Hospital, I'm sure you must have aware that we are the first and perhaps the only paperless hospital in Pakistan. That was really very proud. We are proud of for us and for Pakistan, in fact. Because whatever we are doing, we just wanted to serve Pakistani people and the youth of the Pakistan. So as far as the Indus Hospital transformation journey has come, we started this application development in 2006 with very nominal and few actually developers, because the area we are working right now, we are situated is very, very far away from the city. So people are very, they had a fear, they had a lot of concern coming at this area. So the first concern or the first challenge we actually had that we had no resources available at this area. So bringing all those students and workers and developers in this area was the biggest challenge. The second thing was the technology itself, because at that era, people are not realizing what exactly the paperless management will be. So letting them understand what exactly the paperless system would be, and the hospital especially. Because let me tell you one example, that we had our first open house in 2007 actually, and more than 1,500 people actually came into that session. Almost 75 to 80% people who came in that session were just saying that paperless hospital, you guys are fool, or maybe you are nuts or something. There are a lot of things we heard about that, and most of the people were discouraging us that we should go paperless hospital, because hospital is a very tricky game. I'm sure that was different than other industries actually. So that was again another challenge for us, because people were discouraging us. And then a lot of other things which as far as the domain is concerned, because the people who are working with us, they didn't know about the domain. The medical domain itself is a challenge. So that was our biggest challenge, because understanding of domain and transforming into technology was our biggest challenge for us. That all things were actually started when we start doing this thing. But Alhamdulillah, we did it. Alhamdulillah, with the help of team, a lot of effort from technology guys, the doctors, the management, and so many other people. who actually helped us to develop this activity.
That's a thorough overview of your journey. Faisal Sab, over to you.
I think the digital transformation is basically the integration of the technology with the processes in the company. As we are manufacturing concern, we had and in fact the unique manufacturing is the cable manufacturing. So as Shakeel Saab said that they have unique in health management processes, unique processes. We have unique processes in manufacturing because the cable manufacturing is quite different from other manufacturing concerns. So we started our digital transformation journey in say about 2015 when I joined in 2014, and then we did some initial work, some paperwork, and then we opt for the ERP system, Oracle EBS, Oracle applications, well-renowned application ERP system, and we went with BWC as an implementation partner. Apart from the EBS, we also opt Oracle's HCM, that is Human Resource Management System, Oracle's HRMS, and we did that HRMS on the cloud-based HRMS that bring us the employee self-service for all the employees in Pakistan Cables. And then we opt one cable cable manufacturing application, which is a UK-based company. As a Simtech is a UK-based company, United Kingdom company, and that made us to ease in cable designing. The cable designing is a very critical part in the cable manufacturing. So we did this as well. After that, just before COVID, this is, I think, blessing in a disguise. We started e-store, Pakistan Cables e-store, just before COVID in 2019, and after around 3 months, the COVID started. So we had a very overwhelming response from customers, and that was a good move. And when the shops were closed, people were ordering required cables through our website. Also, recently we launched an app for our loyalty customers, especially for the electricians. It's a club, basically, a loyalty club for the electricians. In this app, they can register themselves, and they can verify the coils which we sell, and they can earn rewards from this. So I think this is the journey of Pakistan Cables. We started from very basic, very initial, when the applications were developed in Visual Basic, and those were old developments, and we converted them on standardized applications, world standard applications. Yeah.
Thank you very much, sir. So keeping in view today's topic, where we want to discuss, building footprints for data strategy, application modernization. Both of you sort of talked about points on modernization, the challenges that it has brought, of course, over the course of your own careers. How do we carry out in parallel the projects of modernization of the data layer and application modernization? Because this is something which concerns a lot of large organizations, and Shakeel, especially you, because what a time to be in healthcare in the last 2 years. There's no industry that has seen more, I think, innovation and more disruption, or that necessity to really innovate and step up, because really, I think the entire world was sort of dependent on the healthcare system. So that's a big responsibility for even you to shoulder.
You're very right. When actually in February, March 2020, when this pandemic happened, all of the things were, things just changed drastically. How everything was changed. There are some, like Bansur Saab said, that there are some challenges as well as we actually cache some of the technology things in this area. Actually, people have realized that we can have a doctor checkup while we are sitting at home. So that's the biggest thing we actually achieve in that. Doctors have realized that they can actually monitor patients' data, they can monitor things, whatever happening with the patient in hospital or maybe at home. They can review it while they are sitting outside. So telehealth was actually built up in Pakistan in these two areas in 2 years actually. So that was the biggest thing I think we have achieved so far. That people are realizing that technology can be used for any kind of a thing. The same thing with the data thing actually, because there are a lot of data is coming in because your patient is very smart now. Your patient is they have their watches, their mobiles, they have a computer at home. They have even those patients who do not have a computer at home. They actually go to some other relatives and they just log in from there, and so they are start understanding what exactly the technology used and the medical science as well. So when your patient is smart enough, you have to be enough smart for to get them treated, to get them examined, whatever is involved in that. So you have to make yourself available as well. So that the challenge we actually face it. Alhamdulillah, Indus Hospital has launched their website within 2 days of that pandemic happened, when more than 300,000 people actually visited our website and actually evaluated themselves on a COVID or thing. So that data was coming in into our system. That was a huge thing, and you won't believe it. The website we were monitoring the website. People coming in from all over the world actually. We actually hit from the South Africa, from Australia, from the US, from UK, and every part of Pakistan. So we got visitors from all, and they were actually evaluating themselves that whether they are COVID positive or not. So that's a huge data we were, and probably in a 3 to 4 days time, we got hit in for more than 200,000 patients, and trust me or not, there were 25% were positive in that. So that was a huge number. And I don't know people actually went to the doctor or not, but we were actually surprised, and we were actually taking care of that. And we actually contacted all those patients who actually they were in Karachi or maybe in whatever the area we are treating right now. So we actually call them and ask them whatever their position is, the condition is. So that was one data set which was coming in the pandemic side. And the other data which we were actually got is basically we had to treat them with their previous medical record, with whatever the data they were actually having with us first. And our doctor, the three sides were supposed to be connected. Doctor was sitting at home, patient is sitting at home, and we were sitting at the hospital. And we had to connect all these three. So the data which we had in our system, Alhamdulillah, we got 3.2 million patients record since 2007 in our system. So you can understand the patient were coming in through websites or through the telemedicine telehealth sites and telehealth applications. They were being treated, and those we are contacting them. So availability of the data, whatever we have, the labs, the radiology, the previous medication, the previous treatment, the previous thing which we are doing, because there are a number of, that was not only COVID actually. There were, for example, if a pregnant female is there and she got COVID, so she is being treated with us since last 6-7 months. So whatever the data we are having in our database, that was also important with the COVID thing. So doctors needed those data information with the field. So we have to connect those things. So that was the biggest thing which I personally feel, as far as the data management is concerned, we actually faced it.
And Faisal, your industry is one of those which could just not afford to sort of shut down during COVID as well, right? But even beyond COVID or even pre-COVID, this is something that application modernization has been a challenge. And I'd like to understand from your perspective also as to how you've been able to successfully carry out in parallel the projects of modernization of the data layer as well as application modernization.
Yeah, I think fortunately, our factories were came into the export zone, so they were not closed during pandemic. While the offices were closed, were all closed and working from home, but the factory were not closed. Uh, if I specifically talk about the data layer modernization and the application layer modernization, so I think uh, for this we have two scenarios. One is if we can make a centralized warehouse, centralized data warehousing, and where the data can put in from different sources, and at the same time we can upgrade our applications. The same thing we did at our systems, where we were when we were changing our human resource management system. So we made a warehouse of the old data, data warehousing. We did the data warehousing. From that warehousing, the dashboards were coming from the previous data and the current data, and the applications were moved on new applications. Similarly, another way is the shifting on the cloud. If we shift our applications on the cloud, so that make us to change the data layer and the application layer both. And I think that all the clouds applications give the dashboards and visibility, full visibility of the data and application. So in my view, there are two ways. One is working with the data warehousing, and the other one is shifting on the cloud.
And in both these experiences, have you seen that integrating existing data silos with modern data platforms has been a challenge? Especially because Shakeel Sahab, you also talked about the doctors were doing their job, they were treating patients, but there's a lot of influx of data that's coming in, and things are constantly changing. Both these industries, it's been one of the fastest changing industries, and now we've also seen that post COVID there's a greater focus on large scale industries, healthcare, textile, and others. So yeah, just comments on that.
Sorry, can you just repeat the question again?
I was saying that how do we integrate existing data silos with modern data platforms?
Faisal Sahab, can you ask us?
Yeah. Yes, basically the silos can be definitely uh, uh, can be removed or can be overcome through the centralized database management system, and the concept of the warehousing is perfectly work with the silos. If different departments have different data sources, like finance have their own data, supply chain, and the marketing have their own databases. So the centralized warehousing bring them together, and the integration of those applications into one application can give you the centralized view, which is good for the decision making and timely viewing of reports and real time data. So I think silos are not good, in fact, but that can be overcome through these strategies. Yeah.
So, Shakeel, is there anything that you'd like to add to this?
I don't think so. There is any because we as a medical industry, and since we are totally paperless since day one, so the entire data is already there. So I don't think so. There was any need of silo or something like that.
All right. So my next question would be on, while every organization and industry vertical is different, generally the digital transformation of any organization can be characterized across three common areas that we've explored with other CIOs as well. One is how you, of course, engage and interact with your customers. One is on leveraging and doing business with your supply chains. And then, of course, maintaining operations to keep the business running and keeping the lights on, as they call it. In this regard, what has been your biggest challenge, and how have you been, impacted in these three areas, or if there are any others, would like to know about that too.
As far as the hospital is concerned, we had the, sorry, the question is from me, to me?
Yeah, it's for both of you, so whoever would like.
Okay. As far as we are concerned, we are directly related with our customers actually. You have to see the patient from less than 3 feet of the distance. That is normal in a medical science. But when this pandemic actually happened, we had to develop some kind of a program, some kind of a things which we need to implement, because we had to keep the distance between with the patient actually. So we, like I said earlier, the telehealth things were not only implemented from home to home. They were also, we actually developed some kind of a clinics in our hospital when the patient was sitting there, the nurses were sitting there, but the doctors was not there. Doctor was in another room. The patient was coming in, they were examining that all that the things what they were doing, because we have to interact with the patient, we have to touch the patient, we have to come closer to the patient, and that was the biggest challenge when we actually had a COVID thing. So as far as we are concerned, we were continuously coordinating with the patient. Regardless, we were having a mask and the all that PPE and all that, but we had to coordinate with the patients.
And so, Faisal, two things I think which would definitely apply to you would be, of course, leveraging and doing business with your supply chain, and maintaining operations and keeping the business up, right? So a large part of digital transformation has been on operational efficiency and then cutting down those layers.
Yeah, I think that digital transformation deals with the integration of your processes digitally, and what I think is basically a cultural change. In fact, how the all team members interact with the systems. So digital transformation is more, I think, cultural change. Everyone thinks about that they have to uh, transform their works, uh, in fact, digitally, but in any way, if they can transform their work to make it better, to make the customer wow, and I think that leave the status quo and make things better for the company and for the rest of the customers as well.
I would like to add one more thing here, if you allow me.
Yeah.
Not only the patient, actually, we had to take care of our employees as well. So what happened actually, we got some instruction from the government side that the thumb impression machine should be shut down throughout the hospital. And our application is basically based on the attendance. You cannot log in our application if you have not signed in our time management system. That's one check of whatever the application is. So we got this biggest challenge that our employees are not able to check in, and they need to access the application as well. So in a very short while, we actually developed a mobile application for attendance, our employees actually. So that was something which came in because of the COVID. But right now, everybody loves that application because they can mark their attendance from the gate, or maybe from the parking, and they can, so that is very useful for them as well. But at that time, that was just because, वो कहते हैं ना जरूरत इजात की माँ होती है. So something like that.
Thank you. So some of the points that I picked up from what both of you shared earlier, how can we improve that user experience and engagement with real-time data? Shakeel Saab, you also talked about, getting that data on a constant basis. Of course, being a paperless environment means there's like large pools of data that the hospital is sitting on. But how do we use that? And that I know falls under multiple departments now, because it's not just IT alone, but there are, data science departments, and there are a lot more sort of division of roles. How has that been as a journey for you? Is that a key priority? Is there something that you've already worked on?
I'm sure you must have heard the word evidence medicine. Evidence medicine is basically based on whatever the experiences we are. Like, for example, if I need to go for a research, It doesn't mean that we have to spend a lot of money and research, talk about a lot of things or efforts for the research purposes. Just to, just let me give you an example. Just to understand what exactly I have done with this kind of a patient will be treated in 4 years or 5 years down the road. Getting only this information is basically a research as well. So evidence-based medicine data provides every kind of information to the doctors. The current application we are using, and by the way, we are changing our application with a new HMIS. And what we are doing is we are taking all the information from the previous application, applying the artificial intelligence and all those areas which we were actually missed in the first application. We are actually developing based on the database, whatever we have learned so far in 15 years time. So for example, if the patient has a type 2 diabetes, for example, so our application will tell the user that since last 15 years, when the type 2 diabetes patient was actually arrived and you diagnosed it at that, so these kind of a medication, you actually use it. And these kind of investigation, you actually follow. And this was the outcome of this particular medical. So these are the things which systems are telling you. So evidence-based medicine is basically one of the greatest example of utilizing the database, number one. Number two, the research purposes. A lot of hundreds of research are coming in our hospital. Not only within the hospital, but we are also getting the request from the government of Pakistan and some other parties which are basically the students, the universities, they are coming in, they want to do research on the evidence-based medicine practices and all that. So we have abundance of data.
And this also takes me to the point that entire industries want to intelligently, of course, leverage their data, to their advantage, and they can do so now because they have faster access to some of the digital technologies that you've talked about. Faisal Saab, is that you'd also like to add to this on how we can improve user experience and engagement with real-time data?
Yeah, if we take the example of our e-store, which we launched in 2019, the user experience was measured. I think the speed of the application, speed of the browser, and speed of the web page was very critical. When we launched the application, it was a bit slow, so users were complaining, and so we optimized it. And another thing was the availability of the real time data in terms of the stocks. Previously the stocks were not available at the website, but we made them available so that the user can see how much stock is available for the shopping. So that made the real time data for the customer engagement and customer user experience. Another thing was quick response. When the order was taken at the website, the call center call them quickly and confirm their order and make them available the order as soon as possible. So these are the things that we can say that these are required for fast delivery and good customer experience.
And I think another thing that also applies here is shortening the data to decisions time frame. I think that really allows, because of technologies like artificial intelligence, it allows people and organizations, especially large organizations like yours, that need to make quick decisions, right? So I think that business intelligence factor really sort of counts here when we're talking about bringing business value first, sense of more data. According to one of the IDC reports that we'd like to quote here is, by 2025, divergences in data security, privacy, and placement, and use of or disclosure mandates, for example, they will force 80% of organizations to restructure their data governance processes built on an autonomic foundation. How does this, if at all, is relevant to your organization? Because data privacy is something which maybe a lot of industries are sort of educating themselves on right now. given that, digital transformation has really changed the landscape. We've also seen locally news and a lot of other sources telling us about, data integrity being compromised.
Yeah, I think that the cybersecurity and data integrity and data security is all around. Everyone almost in Pakistan, you heard that KE was hacked, KE system was hacked, and few other company systems were hacked. So I think this is very important. We have detailed cyber security program in our company, and we conduct the sessions with the users, all users at all levels, so that they are aware of the security challenges we have. Because the user is not if the user is not aware, he don't bother to click any link or execute any exe file or download any program, malicious program. So the user awareness is very important. So we conduct regularly the sessions with the users, and we have developed a privacy policy and the cybersecurity policy for the company. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Shakeel Sahab, is that something that you would also have prioritized on your task list on, prioritizing data privacy, security, and if there's any sort of, restructure of data governance processes?
As far as the hospital information system is concerned, we have to follow some rules, not only the cybersecurity thing, but we also have to follow some kind of a rule with the patient's data and their security and the secrecy of that, especially the secrecy of that, because we have to follow the HIPAA compliances. We are actually we're following whatever the standards are, what the requirements are. We cannot, tell anyone, or even the doctors. We cannot tell doctors what exactly the problem with it, because HIPAA has a lot of strict rules as far as the patient privacy is concerned. That's one area of that. We need to follow that. As far as the security is concerned, we are following a kind of a different kind of a cyber security mechanism, like Mansoor Sahab has just mentioned. That's a part of the game now, because the things are changing. The good thing is changing, so bad thing is also changing. So the cyber security has to be there by all means. So you have to follow whatever the things are around you. So that's it.
And since we're on the topic of, technologies and trends that are even globally recognized, but also locally very sort of common now, and people and large organizations are really looking into investing in these. We're also looking at a lot of AI interactions and analytics technology to deliver, deeply personalized journey engagement, whether it's a bot welcoming you at a hospital or, mobile applications that are doing so. This, of course, eliminates a lot of marketing, sales, human resource at various levels. Are any of these technologies already being implemented within your workforce or your work culture right now, or is that something in the pipeline?
Yeah, of course. As far as the hospital, our hospital is concerned, we are actually working with two major things. One is our X-ray department, because in radiology there are hundreds of X-rays are coming in on a daily basis. More than 500 X-rays we do in one center actually. So that's a huge data. When more than 70% X-rays, 75% X-rays are normal. So we are actually applying algorithms to, with the consent of our radiologists, we are actually following those standards and applying the AI standards. So that would be telling us whether the report are normal or not. That one thing which we are doing, which is a very, very small thing. The other thing which we are doing is basically our emergency department. When the patient is coming into our emergency, there are certain standards to take on the patient. They have to go through the triage thing. That triage thing will need to take some kind of a data, and we evaluate whether the patient is really in an emergency situation or not. So based on their data, based on whatever the practices we have done so far, but whatever the information we have and the experiences we have, not only the doctor, the human experiences, but the data experiences. Based on those experiences, we actually recommend what exactly need to do further, what next step you are going to follow up. So that tells the doctor as well, the nurses and all the management, and even the patient as well. We actually guide the patient because, for example, if I have a small abdomen pain and I'm coming into the ER and saying that, oh, I got a lot of pain or something like that, we actually guide them as well. But this is happening. You are, going through with this process, and this will be leading to this, something like that. So we are doing some more algorithm as well. In our hospital, there are a number of people actually working on the developing algorithms and artificial intelligence processes to expedite the patient treatment and expedite the patient management for future, inshallah.
I think within a few years, it will be difficult for organizations to not be leveraging some type of, AI assisted or cloud linked governance services in areas such as, even networking, cloud, data protection, and even endpoint security, like both of you talked about. Faisal Sahab, is that something that's also in the works at
Yeah,
Pakistan Cable?
we are using that part of some, you can say that artificial intelligence in our production planning side. So cable manufacturing is, as said earlier, that is a unique manufacturing process. We implemented Oracle, but that Oracle's planning module was not catering our requirements. So we made a custom application for planning of production of cable. So in that we implemented different algorithms to plan the manufacturing of the cable, because when we say that two cables like 500 meters and 500 meters, they are not 1,000 meters. If we go something else, to 500 equals to 1,000, but cable is not 1,000 because the continuation of length is very important. So for that, we have to develop the custom application, and we implemented the different algorithms in this by using the lead times and the lead times of the manufacturing, lead time of the raw materials, and the logistics times. So we did this. Apart from this, we are using that bot functionality at our website when someone comes and visit our website. So the bot welcomes him or her, and then they can have conversation and they can have FAQs. Yeah.
All right. So, based on this, of course, this is also IT organizations are seeing major barriers to also their ability to effectively employ governance-focused automation across their enterprise. A scarcity of people with required skills, for example, has been a challenge, and I don't think this is a new challenge. It's always been there, and it's, I think, only growing with the growing demand that organizations have. Is there anything that you, in your own individual or professional capacity, are doing to sort of cater to this large, industry gap when it comes to these upcoming trends, technologies, and training of the workforce?
Yeah, I think that that pandemic, that COVID has. After the COVID, there was a gap in IT resources, the huge gap. It's nowadays very difficult to find a good programmer in Karachi. In fact, I don't know about the Lahore, but in Karachi it's very difficult to find a good programmer of anything like ASP.NET, or if you go for Oracle. So it's very difficult. So I think that the pandemic has created a gap of the resources. The reason was that after the COVID, there are so many requirements from abroad, from Middle East. So most of the resources have moved there, and the Pakistani market is nowadays suffering due to this.
Yes, this is the biggest challenge. In fact, as far as I'm concerned, there are two things. Which one is technology itself, and the second thing is basically domain. You cannot get you maybe get the programmers, but you won't be able to get the programmers of my domain. That's a challenge because I don't know about the other industries, but as far as the hospital industry is concerned, we are spending hours and hours and months and years actually to train our staff to understand the terminology, the technology, and all that. And after this pandemic thing, people are just vanishing like this, and they're getting twice and thrice of the salaries and from outside the world. And we are, I have 6 openings in my hospital, and I am not getting any programmer right now.
All right. So with this, I'd also like you to talk a little bit about what you forecast as trends for 2022. This is also sort of our closing comment, and I'd like to hear from you on upcoming technologies and trends that a lot of these industries, especially the ones that you're working in, need to stay ahead of the curve. And then people like you who are industry veterans, really set the trend on what is to come for these industries. So Shakeel Saab and Faisal, both of you, I'd like you to talk about trends and technologies and things that we should keep an eye out for when it comes to the growth of the industries.
As far as we are concerned, we are actually focusing whatever the technology is coming in, because like I discussed it earlier, artificial intelligence. There are many other things which is coming into in our domain, because, for example, is my doctor is sitting in US and is actually doing operations, physical operation in Karachi. That is happening in the world right now. So that's VR technology is there. So a lot of things is happening now right now. Some of these things are actually challenging in our environment as well, because we got internet issues. We got power issues with technology issues. So these are all things are there, but we cannot be behind the technology changing. And as far as the medical science is changing, the this just like COVID is coming. This monkeypox is now approaching the world. So that so many things is happening in the world, in the medical world actually. So if we are not stick with the current technology, that if we are not actually following whatever the world is doing, we will be left behind. So as far as our hospital is concerned, we are actually looking forward for every possible thing which is happening in the world right now, and we are actually focusing on that. So whatever the profession is of yours, whatever the profession you are going to join, but as far as I'm concerned, I would strongly recommend you must keep an eye on your upcoming technologies and upcoming things which is happening in the world actually. And if you are coming to the medical domain side, you have to understand that these technologies will be used for the patient by the patient, for the people by the people actually. So that would be the biggest challenge for them as well. So they need to understand, they need to follow, they need to keep an eye on it, and then they have to adopt it.
Thank you very much, sir. Faisal Saab, over to you.
Yeah, I think that the new challenges for the upcoming years is machine learning. The big data. From big data, we can learn how the trends are going, how the trends are moving, and we can learn the customer behavior. In fact, how the customers interact with your products, with your services. And another thing is the usage of blockchain. Blockchain need to be done. Work on blockchain need to be done in Pakistan. Is too high time to work on blockchain. So I think these are two major areas. Another thing is the business intelligence. So business intelligence is very important for businesses to make decisions, timely decisions. So these three things would be beneficial for companies to work on.
Thank you very much. And I think you're right that these are trends that, and as Shakeel have also rightly said, that these are trends that we need to be looking at from global perspectives. Also, they're always a few steps ahead of us, and it's up to us to catch up to it as soon as possible. So I think keeping that in mind, COVID-19 has also taught us that it's proved that organizations that were all along the path to being digital businesses are surviving much better and even thriving under the pressure. So I think future success, it no longer relies on imagining what the future might look like or scrambling to adjust to immediate disruptions, but rather on continuous innovation. So it's sort of like an ongoing process. And I'd really like to thank both of you here for sharing your own journey, because it's been a good way for us to also learn that it's not just digital transformation isn't something that's taken place overnight. It's taken you also within your career span a couple of years to get to this point, and there's only so much going forward. Especially keeping the pace of digitization in mind, we need to see that innovation is not just internal. It has to be the organization's need to extend innovation into their ecosystem, including partners, including technologies, including, a lot more learning. So thank you for your contribution and your input for today's session. And if there are any closing comments, we'll take them now.
Thank you very much, Akhter. It was really wonderful to be with you and having a discussion on that. And thank you for having us here. One last thing which I want to add, as far as the Indus Hospital is concerned, we actually started in our board clinic. I don't know whether you know about that board clinic or not. There is a board which is running into an Indus River, which is serving 200 villages, which is around the 3,000 or 4,000 patients. And to those patients who have never seen a doctor in their life, that's the biggest thing which we actually, that board was not possible because of the technology. Because board is running where actually we do not even have a mobile phone signals available. So we actually install satellites. We actually install small servers in our things, and whatever the patient treatment is going on and those boards, actually that is paperless as well. We have 4 buses running around Sindh and Punjab, and those buses are not possible because of technology. So Alhamdulillah, with the edge of technology, we are able to deal with the patient's treatment and all that. So thank you very much. I really appreciate your patience and all this.
Thank you. Faisal, any closing comment from your end?
Yeah, thank you very much. It was a nice session, and it's a good to meet Shakeel Saab and learn more about the hospital system and their paperless environment. Yeah, it's good. I think good, very good.
Guys, thank you. Thank you very much for your insights, and thank you for taking out the time. We hope to stay in touch with you for future sessions as well. With this, we'd like to thank our partner Comtel for presenting today's session. Allah Hafiz from our side.